I mean, the circumstances sound nuts. I was going to fly to Spain by myself to go and do a shitload of MDMA with a man I'd never met. I mean, literally. I knew I was in good hands, but still,
yeah,
I'd
wild.
one of my friends on speed dial.
Just in case there was a murder about to ensue.
Yeah, I was like, you're going to go all Jack Bauer if this goes wrong. Come and get me.
Yeah. What can you describe it as? How can we go there with you right now?
How would I describe it? Initially I felt a little bit drunk, and then I remember like my palms were a little bit like sweaty, and I literally remember coming out of my body through the clouds, through the earth, like looking down on the earth, and I was just up in the solar system. It just totally repaired my whole nervous system. The first thing I did was leave him a little voice note, and I just remember saying, oh my goodness, that was the best experience of my life. Just incredible. I wish everyone could do this. So blessed. Do you know I'm an angel of love? So full of love. Yes, I am. So blessed.
Today's guest is Hayley Miller. Now, Hayley is a survivor of ME, also known as chronic fatigue syndrome. She's also written her debut book, and this is soon to be released. So today we're going to dive really deep into the reasons why people develop chronic fatigue syndrome, how to get over it, and for me, looking at why trauma causes for so many people chronic fatigue. But also we'll be delving into that book. It's too exciting to share right now. You'll have to watch the episode, but it's going to be incredible. And another thing, I know everyone does this these days, and I almost cringe at asking, but please, 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 could you subscribe to my channel? It allows the channel to grow. It allows me to get really good guests. It also makes me extremely happy. So if you could do that, it would really make my day. And obviously, I hope you enjoy the episode. It's a little bit different today because, you know, there are some insights that you're going to discover today that might just change your life. On that note, lots of love. So today, I have Hayley Miller in the studio.
Hello.
Now, she looks a little bit naughty, but she's not, just FYI. Before I tell you the story of what's just happened. So Hayley has travelled a really long way. Where have you come from, Hayley?
I've come from Bournemouth, so right down on the south coast.
And it's been one heck of a drive. So when Hayley arrived, she brought me some lovely flowers and a gift that I've not yet opened because something happened. I'm going to share with the audience, Hayley, what happened.
You sure?
I am. I am going to share them because I think this is just a real insight into what really goes on behind the scenes. And Hayley and I, just to give context, we've done lots of talking on FaceTime and so on. And something always goes wrong. And we always make the joke about the two blondes, don't we?
Yeah,
and
two
technology.
blondes and technology.
Well, today, so far, so good with technology. But when Hayley arrived, she's got these little minty things, haven't you, Hayley? That have natural, it's a very natural thing. It's for focus because she travelled so far. Yeah. She wanted this little mint, which has got a bit of nicotine in it.
Nicotine mint.
Nothing natural.
Beautiful.
Beautiful, natural stuff. Yeah. And she would never offer me anything else. But me being me, Hayley said, you know, you only have to have a little bit. I said, no, I'll have the whole mint. Stick it on your gum. Just for a bit of focus, got ADHD, why not? And then about 20 minutes later, little old Ella needed to go and be sick. So I threw up, didn't I, Hayley?
You really did.
And I felt so much better. And then I needed to just see if I could go again, but luckily there's been no more vomit.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to share that with everybody in case we have to pause and Ella has to run out to be sick. I'm sure I won't be.
I really hope not because I'm feeling a little guilty.
I thought you were going to say giddy then. And then I thought, oh God, here we go. She's going to go and be sick now.
Well, no, I only had a third of the tablet.
Yeah, so because you're sensible. And you did say, have you ever smoked? And I was like, yeah. I mean, it was 2020, well, how old am I? About 22 years ago that I last smoked. But yes, I have. So I thought, have the whole thing, Ella. Wow. Is all
Wow.
I'll say. Be
You
careful,
seem
kids.
very focused, though, to be fair.
I am.
And the only reason I read the warnings is because I've never smoked. So I was obviously do this for the purposes of like nicotine's got healing benefits.
It has, yeah.
And so I read all the warnings and thought, no, Hayley, tiny bits. But yeah, I thought you'd be all right. So apologies, but what a way to start.
What a way to start. Vomit, puke. I just hope I
Yeah.
don't vomit on you. We have had that discussion that I might projectile vomit on you.
If you could not, that would be really good.
But it's either that or I just run out. Either way, you could carry on hosting by yourself.
Yeah.
That'll be
that's
fun.
it. I'll carry on talking.
So that's how we've started. How we'll finish is yet
I don't
to be
know
seen.
where this is going to go.
Well, I do, because it's pretty phenomenal. So apart from me being sick, Hayley isn't here for that, really. Hayley is here to talk about a book that's not yet out. So we're talking about the book before it's published.
Yes.
And so to give context to this book, it's called The Guiding Star System, isn't it?
Yes.
And it starts with your journey of ME, also known as chronic fatigue syndrome.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say too much other than, and then I'll let you speak, other than this kind of book started then because you started to scrapbook at this point.
Yeah.
For those that don't know much about ME, CFS, first of all, explain what it is, but also why you started to scrapbook and kind of what the experience is overall for somebody that's going through that right now.
Okay. So ME was given to me as a diagnosis because initially they thought it could have been glandular fever.
Yes.
And to give it context, this was a long time ago. So I'm 40 now. This was when I was 18. So we're talking, we had one of those computers at home, but the ones with the big box behind it. Yeah.
It weighed a ton.
That's it. That weighed a ton. And the stuff available on the internet is, it was just unreliable or just not there.
Yeah.
And I got sort of told by Western medicine that nothing could help me.
I mean, that's a really nice thing to hear when you feel utterly shit.
Yeah. And the only way I can describe it symptom-wise is utter exhaustion.
Yeah.
But I'd gone from being like a very active, physically fit, teenager.
You were a gymnast, weren't
Yes,
you? And
yeah.
a horse rider.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of that. Anything that I could do that was active, I'd be doing it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I was bedridden. Couldn't walk to the toilet even without struggling.
Because you mentioned glandular fever. So are we talking sort of like, I mean, there's colds and there's flu. Yeah. And when you've got a flu, you are literally like pulling yourself along the floor to go for a wee, aren't you? Yeah. Was it like that?
Literally like that.
Oh my God.
Except the sleep. There's no other way of me describing it really than you're just unconscious and totally unaware of anything going on in your surroundings. I know everyone has different degrees of it, but
yeah.
mine, I was sleeping about 20 to 22 hours a day for nearly a year. So
for nearly a year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's bad enough for 3 weeks when you're poorly, but
yeah. But the saving grace being, because you're literally out of it for so long, you're not aware of it.
Yeah.
And I actually remember my mum saying to me, because I've got a phobia of needles and stuff like that, and she said, you really should get some blood tests done. And I'm like, no, not doing it.
I've got a phobia of needles, hello.
That's it, yeah, that's only going to make things worse, isn't it? They've already said there's nothing, there's nothing there. So we made an agreement that if I was like this still in 3 months' time, that I would consider having the blood tests. And Mum was always so good in giving me that sort of self-autonomy and control, she'd advise me, but she'd never make me.
Yeah. And
I just remember her coming into my room one day and saying, have you thought any more about these blood tests? And I said, no. What are you talking about? All defensive. It's only been a couple of weeks. And she was like, no, it's been 3.5 months. And I was just, that maybe gives some sort of context as to how unaware you are, because you're literally not in this world for so many hours a day. And yeah, it was incredibly debilitating. And I decided then after that initial first year, because it got slightly better, so I was being able to have more conscious hours, as I'd say. And yeah, so on the internet was nothing there. The doctors couldn't help me, and I didn't want to go down that route. So I decided to make a scrapbook of all of the tiny little changes that I could make in order to get better. I was so determined, you know, like, this is not going to be how I'm going to live my life. I knew that that's not the life that was meant for me. And in order to do that, keep a record of it. And I remember promising, like, you know, I'm not religious or anything like that. I'm just, whoever's up there, like, whatever you are, or just if you help me get better, I will put this out for the world. And I was 18 at the time, and obviously it just so happened that I'd probably forgotten that promise on an everyday level, and I got back into life. But then when I discovered the scrapbook again when I was moving, and I was going through another very difficult time in my life with a lot of change, divorce, house move, lockdown, all at the same time, just totally reestablishing myself. And I came across this scrapbook. How it had survived all those years, I don't know, because it was, you know, nearly 20 years. And I was like, I really did make that promise. And now I'm back in a situation where I want guidance again. And I'm going to put it in a book. And that's how it started. And it's not about a recovery from ME. That's not it. But that was the motivation and the inspiration behind it.
What a story.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about chronic fatigue and previously known as ME, which is words I can't pronounce. So that's...
Oh, I can't, and I've had it. The words are so long and ridiculous.
I know.
Yeah.
I think that's why they turned it to chronic fatigue syndrome.
Yeah.
Because no one can pronounce the other one apart from saying ME. But for my understanding, and when I went on the ADHD Chatter podcast, I did this brief sort of mention of the sort of connection to chronic fatigue and burnout and all of those things. But also, you know, looking at trauma and chronic stress and all of those things, they certainly can be the catalyst for this, can't they? Because you mentioned Western medicine there. You said I didn't want to go down the Western medicine route. Yeah. Well, we started this podcast talking about being sick and everything else. And off camera, we were talking about the sort of somatics of sometimes how something natural can hit the area of your body where you need to release something. And actually where I was feeling a bit sick was in my solar plexus. And, you know, I'm all about the somatics and listening to your body, which is a kind of like neat lead into that comment about burnout that I've spoken about on ADHD Chatter. And then also the fact that this chronic fatigue is basically your body shutting down, switching off, tapping out. And as you say, it's not necessarily a Western medicine thing. And as a hypnotherapist, when I was doing much more hypnotherapy than I am now, because it's much more integrative now, but there was a lot of people coming to me with chronic fatigue, and I did a lot of hypnotherapy with people that had chronic fatigue. And there's certain ways of looking at these things. And you certainly looked, well, we would say more maybe the Eastern philosophies, the more energy-based practices. Yeah. And then if we sort of take that information, that this could be more of a trauma response or a burnout response, if we treated it in the same way that we treat trauma and burnout, and we look at the sort of cellular patterning, the trauma that's held in the body, the way that no one really understands that when you go, I'm not saying no one, but when you go to the GP, that system, the Western system, doesn't really understand it. Not their fault, it's just not how they're trained. But even at 18, you knew that you didn't want to go down that kind of systemic route.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know why, and I almost didn't know that I knew.
Yeah.
But there was such something inside just telling me that was not the way to go.
And that's incredible, because you were only 18. Yeah. You were also unconscious for most of the time, but your unconscious was still screaming, your gut instinct, your intuition, I've got to do this my way. I mean, and I don't think anyone, unless they've been there, and I've had bouts of exhaustion, but that constant, you know, for a year, 22, 23 hours sleep. I know myself, like my tapping out is sleep. Where people say they can't sleep, I'm like, listen, I can sleep for days. I don't get enough of it.
Yeah.
But given the choice, I will sleep and sleep and sleep. That is just a really nice escapism. So that leads us into that trauma and how a lot of people with chronic stress or chronic trauma or neurodiversity are more probably, if we're going to be honest, more likely to experience something like chronic fatigue. Yeah. I don't know how much of a community there is around ME or chronic fatigue, but through cases that you know of, would you say that that's probably correct?
Yeah, I mean, I would. And I think the sleep for me, I think sleep's got a huge spiritual connection.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to get right
We're
into
going to
it
get
now,
right in. Let's get the spiritual word out there right now.
We're going right there straight away. And I think, I mean, there's a whole section of the book on rest and the different forms of rest. But we have sort of physical rest, mental rest, and then a spiritual rest. Mm. And I believe that your sleep is your reconnection. It's usually when you're largely unconscious for it. You may get bits come to you in dreams if you're meant to, but largely the processing of things like that with all of the, you know, unlimited and untapped sort of source energy knowledge.
Oh my God. So if you weren't already excited by what we're talking about today, I mean, I know I sort of lowered the tone with the vomit at the beginning, which is probably not very spiritual, but actually is it?
I'd say it's highly spiritual.
I think I've had a highly spiritual experience throwing up in the toilet upstairs whilst Hayley sat here and thought, I've just travelled all the way from Bournemouth for this weird witch of a woman to be puking up.
I love it.
But there is that release.
Yeah.
And nothing is by accident.
Nothing's by accident, no. And I think particularly with ME, and I can only speak about my own experience because that's the one that I've lived and I can talk about. But I think everyone's experienced trauma. But if you've got no way of expressing that, it gets trapped in the body.
Yeah.
And if you continue to not express it, it stays there. And if it gets worse or it gets added to or anything like that, you've learned that you can't get that out. You know, whether that's movement, whether that's words, whether that's however you do it. And so it's like I think it's Gabor Mate actually that touches on this, that it's a very extreme fawn response.
Yeah.
And I get it.
Yeah.
You know, when you hear something
it resonates.
Finally it makes sense.
Well, and you know, for you, that must have been a moment because although you've been writing this book since you were 18, but in fits and starts, it's not been continuous, has it? Because like you say, you picked up the scrapbook through another rocky period of your life where, I mean, COVID certainly was a rocky period in all of our lives, but you were also going through divorce, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
So yes, it's been in fits and starts, and yes, you've had this experience of it's always been a part of your life, really. Hearing someone like Gabor Mate or anyone put into words what you probably could never articulate yourself, that must be quite a defining moment.
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, I love him.
Oh, me too.
I do just love him.
Yeah, he's great.
I love listening to just the way he talks.
Yeah,
I think there's such a power in the spoken word and the written word, but like it's a form of communication, you know, and being able to connect with that with someone.
And some people do it really well. And you know, we all know if we scroll through Instagram, there's lots of people talking, including me. Yeah. And I don't know how someone is able to have such a beautiful impact like Gabor Mate or Bruce Lipton or you know, some of the most wonderful people out there that we've had that 30-second reel and we've all just gone, oh my God. And I'll tell you, I needed these people when I was younger.
Yeah.
Because we did not talk about trauma at all. back then.
I don't think anyone did.
No, we didn't. I don't think I ever heard the word trauma until much, much later on.
Well, I think it was like reserved for like shell shock and
It was.
war veterans.
It was all to
and
do with that.
That was it.
That was it. No one put it onto those sort of complex, ongoing events that someone might experience in their lives. And I remember you talking about Gabor Mate. I think it was a poem by Tori Amos. Do you remember Tori Amos? She did some amazing music, and
she did.
I don't know how I came across it now, but I think it was a poem. And there was another book by another poet actually, but she'd written a book called The Courage to Heal, and it was Ellen Bass, and that was all based on sexual abuse. And then Tori Amos had written a poem, and I remember reading the poem, and I remember just welling up, thinking, I've never felt so seen.
Oh.
And so I'd imagine it's the Gabor Mate thing. You just realise that someone gets it.
Yeah.
And that allows you to put the pieces of the puzzle together, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But what's interesting about what you've said there about how, you know, the voice is so important and the somatics of it all. And obviously if you're struggling with chronic fatigue and you're shut down because of that extreme fawn response, which we'll explain a bit more for people that don't understand the fawn, because it fits in with fight, flight, freeze, fawn.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know and understand fawn, so we will go there. But one of the biggest, which again falls into this vomiting thing of letting go before we do this episode, I've always had constipation. And I know it's not the most glamorous thing to discuss, but I don't mind.
It's a safe space here.
Yeah, it's a safe space, Hayley. It's such a safe space when you're around. I just think people don't talk about constipation enough.
No. Because
it's embarrassing, apparently. I don't obviously have that same mechanism.
Well, anything embarrassing is challenging to the ego, isn't it?
It is, and
we don't want to admit it.
I'm not sure what's wrong with mine, because I overshare way too much, but I'm doing it again. But it's really important to talk about, because I think sometimes, again, going down that medical route, whether it's ME, whether it's constipation, whether it's, I don't know, whatever it is that feels difficult to discuss, if you don't talk about it, you don't realise. And the amount of people when I talk about it in clinic and I'm talking to clients about it, they go, oh yeah, I've got constipation or IBS or whatever. And my body holds on. And it's interesting with this natural nicotine thing that we've just taken, that there was no holding on going on here. And so I think that sometimes, you know, sometimes your body will do what it wants to do to protect you.
Absolutely.
And yours went into that extreme fawn response to protect you. Mine's got a problem with letting go, clearly, although who knew, because I always overshare. But there's obviously something deeper down.
Yeah.
It's a control thing. And your way of controlling was to tap out.
Yeah.
So the extreme fawn response, and I want to stop talking now. This is terrible, because I'm definitely talking too much right now, as it's about the fawn and the ME. Yeah. But I'm really interested in hearing your take on that, so that the people listening go, oh, fawn, I've not thought about that before.
Well, it's by no way in saying that it's not got physical effects on your body, because it absolutely does. And I remember when I had it, ME still had the sort of stigma of being yuppie flu.
Yes, awful.
You know, which you can sort of, from a medical perspective, kind of understand, because there's nothing that says that you're unwell, let alone that unwell.
Yeah.
But I think that it's your subconscious protecting you. So you're not consciously aware of it.
No.
It's no way a choice. It's no way any of these things that sometimes get thrown around with ME. But it is, you know, it's a subconscious protection. And it sort of keeps you there until you're ready to gradually process things or get yourself out of situations or whatever it may be. But, you know, you got to thank the old noggin up there.
I swear.
It's there to protect you. And the minute, like I used to really dislike my body and myself for not being perfectly well, and it almost became the enemy. And the minute you can understand and reframe that and go, actually, bloody thank you, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you looked after me. Like, that was for a reason.
So, we're here because of it.
Yeah.
Talking about this wonderful book, because you went through that experience. So
Yeah.
as awful as it would have been, and yeah, I mean, I can't imagine that length of time not being able to live, really.
Yeah.
But the Fawn response is, it's, from my understanding, is the kind of people pleasing. It's not necessarily as simple as that, because it doesn't look as obvious as that, the Fawn. It's the perhaps I'm okay if you're okay, so I'll do what you need me to do so that I can be okay. It all falls into that codependency and perfectionism and I'm perfect if I get that feedback from you. So I've got to do something and be something in order for you to validate that. Would you say then, because you said it was a sudden onset, would you say then that your stress tank got so full that the switch needed to turn off?
Absolutely. And I think it was Pete Walker, actually, in his book. I love Pete Walker as well.
We just love everyone, don't we?
Yeah. And the way they've sort of dedicated their lives to, their own healing, and that's resulted in helping other people. But I think it's Pete Walker that says in his book, the Fawn response is like, if you watch an animal program, and an animal predator attacks the prey, and sometimes the prey will just play dead.
Yes, that's like the dorsal vagal state. Yeah,
it can be similar to that.
Yeah,
so it's like almost like a cut-off switch.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about the vagal response a lot because it's complicated, but you can make it simple with the playing dead analogy. And also when you're playing dead, you can't connect. So if you use that as a analogy, the dorsal vagal state stops you being in ventral vagal, and ventral vagal is the sort of heart area, and the voice area. And you can't, when you're in that state, you can't use your voice, you can't connect to love,
express.
you can't express, you can't socially connect,
Yeah.
because you are in the playing dead. Everything becomes a predator.
Yeah.
But you, like you say, you don't see that coming.
No.
It just happens. And for some people, and I work with people that have POTS. Have you heard of POTS?
No.
It basically is it's related to the heart. So it's like a rhythm in the heart that you'll get palpitations, and you'll feel like your heart's like a panic attack.
Okay.
Where you can't control the heart, but people pass out. That again, they can experience chronic fatigue, nausea. When they faint, they might end up, wetting themselves, and they're so embarrassed and so ashamed of it all. But that is an extreme. Again, shut down, and it's a dorsal vagal thing. And in that place, they can no longer connect, and they withdraw from life, because if their trigger is going on public transport, for example, well, they can no longer travel.
Yeah.
So it keeps them in a very small space in their lives. So if you look at any of these sort of syndromes, they're all about, like you said, the brain is going, it's time for you to pay attention now.
Yeah.
It's time for you to listen. And I'm not saying all GPs, because I'm sure there's some very, very good sort of holistic thinking ones. But you're right. If you go to the GP, you're unlikely to get a full explanation of that more holistic, multidisciplinary thought process. And I think that's what's going to be so important about your book, because it's not actually about ME. That's just the reason that you started keeping this record of what was working.
Yeah, it only gets mentioned once in one paragraph, so it's way beyond that. But I think what I did was, although I recognised I didn't want to go the Western medicine route, what I didn't know is which route I wanted to go.
Yeah.
And so I went very extremely down lots of different routes, which really all form sections of the book. So fuel being one, like starts with food and drink, but goes much deeper than that. Movement, obviously it starts with exercise, goes a lot deeper. Rest, your outside world, and then your inside world. And if I look back now, I got obsessed with diet and things like that. And then I got obsessed with exercise and all the various things, because I was avoiding dealing with the bit that was the difficult bit, which was the internal work. And it was flipping that perspective, you know, instead of hating the circumstances in my body, I'm like, right, what is this trying to tell me?
What you've just said there will hit a lot of people because, and I think that's going to go in the trailer. I always listen out for trailer moments, and that was one of them, because I feel like how many of us do that? How many of us? You said something earlier about your body not being perfectly well or something like that. And it's the word perfect that I heard. And what we do is we try to perfect the human that we are, but we ignore the deeper layers, like the spiritual layers, the bits that are epigenetic, that are ancestral, that are connected to something before us, connected to something after us, connected to something that we can't see, feel, touch. And we go to food. How many women listening to this, and men, you know, will go, oh God, yeah. I mean, the amount of bodybuilders I know that have got severe trauma.
Yeah.
And they're focused on their body, and they're focused on their diet, and they're focused on their supplements, and they're focused on everything but the thing that's causing the problem.
Absolutely.
And your book really enables anybody at any point in their life to dive in and get a greater understanding of their own system.
Yeah.
And I said to you earlier, I asked you sort of, how does one know how to write a book that reaches anyone where they are to get to where they want to get? Because obviously most people niche down, but this is a really like open forum for anyone to join this book and anyone to find themselves and sort of decide where they want to go. So how did you kind of manage that? Because that's a hard thing to do.
It was. And that's why it's taken me so blooming long to actually get it out. I've been banging on about this for years. But I think I had to just start with the base level that everyone's human, you know, and the sort of the concept of it is that it's a path to all that you know you can be. And there's always part of you, wherever you are in your life or whatever your circumstances are, that just knows something. You know?
Absolutely. Intuition.
Yeah. Intuition.
And nothing is more intelligent.
Yeah.
But we don't pay attention.
No.
Why do you think we don't?
I think the outside is designed to
distract
from
that super intelligence.
Absolutely.
What would happen if we weren't distracted by the outside, do you think, to the human experience?
Oh my goodness.
Sorry for that question. That's a big one.
What a question. It's just life would be even more beautiful.
No.
You know, I think so many people are becoming aware of these things.
Yeah, they are.
And it's lovely to be a part of witnessing that, I think, you know, when you look at the world and what's going on now and, you know, the things, I mean, just us having a chat about this probably wouldn't have happened 10 years ago.
No, you're right.
You know, all of the other experts as well that have come out with things that they sort of all lead their little way in helping raise awareness.
They do. And I think one of the things that people don't like is when these conversations are had by people that look mental. I mean, I'm not saying we don't look mental. I mean, I
fully agree. You should have seen us trying to set up.
Me being sick, Hayley being concerned that she's driven all this way for nothing. So there's a little bit of mental. But you know what I mean? There's often when you say the word spiritual, there's often an image that's conjured up in the mind. And I think it leans into a world that most people don't want to explore because it just looks beyond mental. Yeah. But actually, we said earlier that we feel like we've always known each other we've never met in person, actually. We've only known each other on technology. And but you meet people in life and you realise that there's a reason beyond that reason that you met. And I feel like that about a lot of people. Yeah. And a lot of things that happen to me, I just now know. So I was saying to you earlier, wasn't I? Because it kind of goes into the systems about over the last week or so, I've just had double numbers. And I remember many years ago, someone saying to me about angel numbers and all this sort of stuff, numerology. And I was like, oh God, what a loon. All right then, with your double numbers. Yeah. And then, of course, the minute that someone tells you about it, if you are open, even if you don't feel like you are, you'll suddenly start to see it. And I'm massively aware of numbers and codes and epigenetic codes and, you know, physics codes and the brain, neuroplasticity codes. Everything's a code, right?
Yeah.
So when I get the double numbers now, I am astounded, and I collect them. So I write them down and I find out what they mean. And you've got to listen to them, guys, because there's a lot of messages there. And that isn't woo-woo. If you know, most people will have seen or at least read the Da Vinci Code. And then when you look at our solar system and you look at the stars and you look at the sun, there's codes within that. There's codes within the human body, within DNA and genetics. Everything is numbers. And so when you first started to sort of tell me about some of the things that you were doing, and you were talking about Linda Goodman, and you were talking about the way that you were putting this together, because it's called the Guiding Star System, I was really intrigued. So let's look at that side of the book as well. Like, we've got your story into it. We understand intuition, and the world is a sort of constructed place, and we can go deeper and we can go into ourselves. We can understand the link to before, now and after. But tell me about Linda Goodman. You actually went to her house. She's an author.
I did, yeah. So I just, again, randomly, these things aren't random, but I discovered her books, and they were written in the 1960s, and they just read as truth to me. You know, when it's like we were saying, oh, Gabor Mate said that must have been like that, you know, or that poem, and it touches you in that way. Her books just did that for me. And there's one book in particular that I must have read sort of 15, 20 times over the years. And I swore I'd just go and see what her life was like, see where she wrote her books.
Wow.
And it just so happens that she lived in a place called Cripple Creek, which is part of the same town as somewhere called Victor. And it's 10,000 feet above sea level and sort of mountain range in Colorado. And it's just got this most beautiful energy up there. But she lived and obviously wrote all of her books there. And I mean, he only lived there for a short amount of time, but doing his energy experiments up the mountains. And yeah, I just decided to go and visit there and write my book for a month. Almost like out of respect.
Wow.
To her, you know, and to really get that. And I'd sort of, because I wrote the book initially, literally with a big fat pencil that you get from the building sites, you know, with the thick lead and the big, you know. And a notebook. And I was traveling all around writing stuff. And I had loads of random bits, no structure, nothing. And I just remember asking for a sign, you know, like, what am I doing? Like, I'm writing the book. I don't know what's going on with my life. I just come on, give us something.
Whatever you are,
give us something. Yeah. And I was like, is this book the way to go? Am I following the right way? So I've been writing every day, and I just happened to bump into someone at the hotel I was staying at who knew the owners of Linda Goodman's house. So they'd just bought it and they were renovating it. She's actually got two up there, but this is the one where she wrote the books in. They said, oh, that's, you know, I can't remember their name now, but it's just, you know, such a small little town up there. They're all know everything about everyone. They said, oh, we'd take you around. You can go and have a look. They'd love to see a Linda Goodman fan or whatever it is. So I went round and they showed me. It was beautiful. They were doing it up for Airbnbs, so a complete refurb. And I said, you know, is there anything, you know, that's original here? And they said, oh, we got rid of all like the stained glass windows and stuff. They're in a museum locally and, you know, you can go and see them. And I was just literally saying goodbye, walking out the door. And the guy said, oh, he said, in this little room, he said, there is something original. He said, it's nothing much. He said, it's just one of the windows. And I said, oh, okay. I said, oh, can I go in and see it? And it was literally a perfect star shape in the logo that I'd done for the book.
Wow.
And I'm not usually taken back by this stuff because things like that happen quite a lot. But I think I just stood speechless looking at this window for an, awkward amount of time.
I probably thought, is she okay?
They were like, bloody hell, she'd said she was going, I'm like, oh. So got a picture and left.
Yeah.
I can give you the picture if you want, if you want to put it up for people
Yeah.
to see.
Yeah,
but
yeah, sure.
It was literally incredible. And then I went, oh, bugger, I've got to finish the book now.
Now I've had the sign, I've actually got to do it.
No, I've had the sign. And then within a few hours, I got on my the last place on my course at university. So it was like the real life-changing moment within 3 hours.
And that's sometimes how it happens.
Yeah.
You can literally, do you know, I put on Instagram today just a post about, on the stories, just saying something like, slow progress is still growth. Like you are going to, it could take you years, it could take you days. It doesn't really matter, but you've got to trust the process and you've got to be intentional.
Absolutely.
Like you were, ask for the signs. Don't just go, oh, poor me, which we all do sometimes. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm a massive fan of feeling sorry for yourself. It does you some good sometimes, but don't stay there.
Yeah.
Then be intentional. Have those periods of, which leads back into the ME thing. Let yourself have those moments of feeling sorry. Let yourself talk about that. But then be intentional too. And the interesting thing is, you'd already sort of had this, as you know, well, you've said you'd picked the star as the logo for the book. So stars aren't just coincidental. No. There's a whole background to that. So tell us about how the guiding star system got its name.
Okay. Well, I've always loved stars. Like when I was a little girl, I'd choose the top with a star on it, or things like that. They'd always sort of been just something I guess I was drawn to without knowing it. And then I read a beautiful book called How to Heal Your Life, and that's by Louise Hayes. And that was in the depths of despair. I call dark night of the soul, whatever you want to call it. And I kind of, none of it was, I didn't want any of what she was saying to be right, because
you were
it was
rebelling.
hard.
Yeah.
There was a real resistance in me. Even though I got it up here, I wasn't embodying it and being it. And there was one bit of the book, as with all great books, you take different things from them at different times.
Yeah.
It's why I try and read books more than once.
Yes.
Well, ones I've enjoyed, obviously. But she has this thing where when you're asking for signs and you want to be guided, like pick something you like. And hers, I think, was rainbows.
Yeah.
And you sort of pick that, and then consciously when you see them, you just go, okay, that was my little connection. That was my little sign. That was my little whatever I need it to be. And the more you do that, the more you notice them, see them, the more
bit like
they
the
come
numbers.
to you. Exactly.
Yeah.
And they just became my thing. And then I'd written the book roughly, again in those patches. Then I realised I could segregate it into 5 clear sections, and they each made a point of the star.
Wow.
And I was like, well, it's going to have a star on it anyway. And so, yeah, that's how it became stars.
That's so cute, because actually I know for you that having that structure, we spoke about this earlier, having that structure, you mentioned the masculine, feminine of that kind of impact as well, but having a structure so that you can feel safe to flow.
Yes.
And so the stars give you that, and the system gives you a structure so that you can find that flow. And that would be, I suppose, for people that are like, okay, I like the idea of all this spiritual stuff, and I like the idea of growth and picking, intentionally where I want to go, but I need a structure.
Yeah.
And I hear that a lot. A lot of us need that now. We're not able with modern life to just go, right, I'm in my flow state, let's go. We need that little bit of guidance, and we need that little bit of structure. So essentially your stars, your love for stars, and then these lovely moments, the Linda Goodman house and various other things where stars have shown up for you, that becomes the structure. That becomes the basis of something solid that you can flow within. Yeah.
So basically, if it's sectioned into 5 sections.
Yeah.
And and it guides you through each one, all through body, mind, and soul.
Yeah.
So it sort of deals with the physical, and then it deals with the mental, and then it deals with the, you know, the spiritual and the soul stuff as well, and integrating that.
Yeah.
And I know you touched on earlier, you know, say, oh, you know, spiritual people at the extreme, you know, it's all like a little bit woo woo and out there. And for me, it's all about balance. You know, I've been down the physical world rabbit hole as much as I have the spirit rabbit hole. And at the end of the day, we're here in a human body to live a human experience.
Yes.
And I think discounting that or trying to be beyond it is just dismissing your purpose and journey of being
It's
here.
fragmented, actually, isn't it? And we need to integrate all of our fragments.
Yeah.
The human experience, like you say, the soul, the body and the mind. But I think sometimes in this area, especially with cults and some spiritual leaders, you could see the ego has taken over, and they don't honour the human experience at all. No. For me, the brain is profoundly beautiful. I am so obsessed with it. I just think it's, I honestly think that's just creaking. No one else will have heard that apart from you. And I just wanted to let you know, whilst we're talking about spirituality, there's probably a ghost here, so it's fine.
I love that. Welcome.
Welcome to the lair. So yeah, I feel like that inability to appreciate the humanness, and of course the brain is so integral for that, as is so much of the body and the nervous system and the cells. And I mean, I'm always fascinated, I say this again and again, I'm fascinated by these 38 trillion cells that we are.
Oh, yes.
And the stem cells and how they multiply to become brain, eyes, tissue, bone, tendons, ligaments. And then this genetic expression that we have that's, you know, tied to and tethered to our grandparents and their grandparents before them and their grandparents before them, and all those life stories and all those, because we literally carry those codes. Yeah. And they're either switched on or lay dormant. And I say this in every episode because some people don't listen to every episode. So the ones that do will just be like, great, here she goes again. But it's good to hear this stuff because you're reminded of how little your ego matters in terms of trying to control the show. Yeah. Like, you've got generations worth of history being carried in your body.
Absolutely.
And this intuition and these natural born reflexes that we have. Yeah. You know, we're born and we know to duck our head if something comes towards it. And, you know, those simple things. And when you watch nature programs and you see the lamb is born and the lamb immediately knows to stand up and do what it's got to do, it's all just there, coded.
So innate.
So innate. Yeah. But if we don't honour that vastness that we're connected to as the human, as you've mentioned there, and we don't integrate those things, then we're missing out.
Oh, so much.
Yeah. And that's where the balance is key, because you can have a bit of respect for the structure, you know, that's where I was going with the star. The star is really the body. Yeah. And the structure that we are experiencing. But on that, it takes me to the fact that you've experienced quite a lot. Mm-hmm. And you've really respected your body. I know, being a gymnast and you are about movement and exercise and all of that. And then you had a recent experience, which fascinates me and makes me feel joyous. And I want to have this experience, although after my little nicotine tablet, I'm not quite sure whether I would be able to.
Very different.
Very different, yeah. Different. I just hope I'm not going to be. But anyway, moving on to the experience itself, I'm going to say 4 little letters. And this could get very exciting.
They're like my favourite letters
I
now.
Bet they bloody are. So those letters are MDMA, children. Yes. Have a little listen to Hayley's experience. So tell us a bit about this experience.
Well, first of all, I had been absolutely conditioned that drugs were bad, of all kind. Mm-hmm. And MDMA or ecstasy. If you took it, you know you could die.
We remember the Leah Betts story.
That was
if you're
what
our
I grew
age.
up with. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, that was an absolute tragedy, and I don't know the circumstances behind it.
It was horrendous.
It was. That was just my understanding of drugs.
Yeah.
And I'd heard about the benefits of MDMA.
Mm-hmm. And they're doing lots of clinical trials for PTSD
Yes.
now with MDMA. So this isn't the nightclub scene we're talking about when we have this little narrative here.
Absolutely. And the way I'd come across this as well, it wasn't from necessarily like in a pharmaceutical hospital-based setting.
Yeah.
I heard about this from a plant medicine ceremony. So it was held by a guy who, bless his little heart, he was just absolutely amazing and made me feel so safe during the whole process. But yeah, I decided to give the MDMA assisted psychotherapy a go, and it was probably the scariest thing I've ever done, but the best thing I've ever done. And I remember hearing about it, and you know when you hear about these things and they just little something goes off, and I was like, oh wow, I'm gonna be doing that. I didn't want to, but I knew I was. Again, that's pure intuition.
Yeah.
Intuition, you don't always want it to be.
That's absolutely true.
And so I'm sort of getting used to this now, where it's like, oh, intuition isn't just, oh yeah, let's just do what we want. You know, it's not at all. And I was like, oh God, that's what I'm gonna have to do. Like, it wasn't a joyful decision.
No.
I just knew that it was for my betterment overall.
Yeah.
So anyway, I had the consultation because the guy was in Spain, because it's obviously fully legal over there, and immediately I could just sense that he was the right person to do this. He was just so beautifully grounded and safe and kind and all those things that you would want when you're at your most vulnerable.
Especially when you're a woman, to feel that. With a guy, you know, it's rare, isn't it, to feel that safe?
Absolutely.
And he is it fair to say he was a psychologist? Yes, so he's got his clinical background.
Yeah.
Sounds like a bit of a Ramdas character.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know when you're in the presence of someone like that.
Yeah.
It's just a feeling.
Yeah.
And I got that over the computer screen. So needless to say, I mean, the circumstances sound nuts. I was going to fly to Spain by myself to go and do a shitload of MDMA with a man I'd never met. I mean, literally.
We said about the spiritual world. Yeah, we said about the spiritual world full of mental people. I can guarantee she's not. But it does sound a bit crazy.
It sounds
I mean, I know it's
bizarre.
not. But a lot of people will be like, God, come on.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
I mean, he'd come from incredibly trusted friend had been and done it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
So I knew I was in good hands, but still, when you say those circumstances, I'd want my friends on speed dial.
Just in case there was a murder about to ensue.
Yeah, I was like, you're going to go all Jack Bauer if this goes wrong. Come and get me.
Yeah.
But I obviously signed this. He's in such demand as well that it ended up being like 4 months later.
Yeah.
So
that's a good sign.
But I just thought, it's 4 months' time. I'll get my head around it by then. I'll be
Did you ignore it for 4 months?
Oh, absolutely. Of course I did. I was scared.
I know
genuinely petrified. And then I was like, there's something, I just know it's for my better good.
Yeah.
I really, really do. But I just didn't want to go. So I'm very good at doing things.
Yeah.
Booked the flights, had the consultation, got booked in. Right, forget it, leave it.
Wow.
Then it comes to the couple of days before. And I'm like, oh, shit. I'm doing MDMA. Oh my goodness, this is happening.
And in a foreign country.
With
a stranger.
And I've got everything going through my head. Where's the nearest hospital? What's going to happen with this? And what happens if I die?
Yeah.
I literally had to face my own death. I did. But in order to get myself there, he said like the little caveat, which is like, if when you get here, I like measure your body for trauma, like against the tension held in your body. And he said, I've only had 2 people in my whole time that can't have MDMA, but just so you know,
it might happen.
That might be you.
So you were like, fingers crossed.
Yeah, so I'm like, I'll just get on the plane, have a nice little weekend in Spain, a bit sunbathing, nice food. What could be wrong with that? And I sat down and had this consultation, and obviously, like, I'm feeling sick on the aeroplane.
God, yeah.
All these things coming up. And then the worst possible thing that could ever happen happened. And he measured my body, and he sat me down and he said, you've really got a lot of trauma in your body. He said, you're going to have to have 3 times the dose.
Sorry. Sorry.
Thanks for the sympathy there. I haven't told you this bit, have I? So you didn't even, that was a real surprise. But yeah, that's what happened. And I literally...
I've gone, the worst possible thing. You're absolutely petrified.
Yeah.
And he's like, you've got to go extra.
Literally. And I mean, when you've done it, you've gone through these things. That was meant to happen. Of course it was. That was like the ultimate test for me. And of course, first thing I did, like I absolutely, all my toys went out the pram.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, no, it must be wrong. You can't be doing that. Can I take a little bit first, see if I like it? Then you can give me some more, like anything. And he's just sat there in all this like beautiful, grounded wisdom. He's like a wizard, that kind of mystical. And he was so good with me. He ended up measuring me 4 times, and each time came back the same. I was trying to work out what he was doing so I could like just be less tense or whatever he was. It didn't work. And then he explained it to me in such a beautiful way. He said, look, I know I'm here. He said, and I know this is scary. He said, but basically what we're doing is we're handing you over to your highest self.
Aww.
And we're letting them make the changes that are best for you within your body. And they're going to guide you. There's nothing I can do. He said, I'm going to be here and I'm going to, hold the space and make it safe for you. He said, but that's really why you came here. And it's up to you to take that step. He said, I can't take it for you, but that is the purpose of this treatment. And then he said, look, if you can imagine that like you are you, he said, and you've got these constraints around you, he said, and all the things that you're doing have been so great. He said, because they've allowed you to understand, all of your little blockages and your, things that are stopping you from expanding into this self that you've got inside you. And it's all just, every word was just coming in like anything. And he said, if you have less of this, he said, you're just going to bounce up to this, these restraints. He said, but what we need to do is give you enough that you like punch through the paper bag.
The construct of who you are.
All of those constructs, so you can then view those constructs from this higher place.
Now, this is very IFS. This falls into Richard Schwartz's work,
yes.
Internal Family Systems, where you get to, his work is all about studying your internal family system, your parts.
Absolutely.
And being able to unblend them and then reintegrate them in a way that sort of releases the trauma and allows your system to recalibrate.
Yeah.
So essentially MDMA is another version of that, but like otherworldly.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was absolutely the best thing I've ever done in my life. I know it to face my own death.
Yeah.
I know I got, 3 times the dose and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But it just gave me a totally new perspective on just life, me, just everything. And I remember when I was still high, the person that I'd said that was on speed dial.
Oh, yes.
Of course, generally they're a bit concerned.
Yes.
I mean, because they're not of the same sort of beliefs as I am and what have you. So they were really like ready with passport, you know, like
and gun.
ready. Yeah. Yeah. And so the first thing I did was leave them a little voice note.
Whilst you're in the zone.
Well, I'm still, because it's not like a light switch on and off. It's like a dimmer switch, the coming out of it. And I just remember saying, oh my goodness, this is the best experience of my life. I wish everyone could do this. Do you know I'm an angel of love? Yes, I am. They've still got it.
Hayley, I knew that before you did this. I could have told you that for free. You've always been an angel of love.
Thank you.
You are.
But yeah, it was an incredible experience. And like, it allowed me to view sort of all those constructs and those, you know, the fears that we have and the ways that your ego sort of keeps you in.
Yeah.
And I was laughing at myself so much.
Oh, it sounds like
beautiful.
Me every day.
Yeah.
There she is again, the twat.
Literally like that.
Wow.
But of course, once you've experienced it, you bring that with you. Even though like you're not up there anymore, so to speak. But then I mean the sort of connection and the little things that would drop in after, I mean, they still keep happening.
So I've heard you talk about the actual experience. So everyone's going to be thinking, okay, this sounds amazing. What does it feel like to be in that zone? Like what can you describe it as? How can we go there with you right now? Because this will be edited. This bit will be edited with all the visuals.
How would I describe it? Okay, so initially I felt, I'm going to close my eyes so I can really feel it, but initially I felt a little bit drunk-ish for just a tiny, tiny bit, few sips of wine. Not that I don't drink, so it's hard to remember, but you know what I mean. And then I remember like my palms were a little bit like sweaty and I was just laid down and I had like the black eye mask on and what have you, because when you have that experience, if you've had MDMA and you're sort of got the outside world to distract you, it's not the same at all.
Yes, I hear this with plant medicine actually.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a very internal experience when you haven't got that stimulation. And I literally remember coming out of my body through the clouds, through the earth, like looking down on the earth. And I was just up in the solar system. I didn't have a body. I knew I was down there.
Yeah.
So I could almost only describe it as like just my eyes almost, because I could still see. And it was the most pure, beautiful, black velvet, like just this beautiful texture. It was very like non-human, because it was just this feeling of you've got absolutely everything that you could ever need, want, wish for already, and nothing.
Wow.
And it was magic.
And was there, am I right in thinking that there was like this white light or something as well? I mean, I might have made that up.
Yeah, no. So that's when I was on the journey up, if you like, the first thing that happened to me, I spent most of my time up there.
Yeah.
But on my way up, the light was, it's not like light that I would say like, you know, look at the light. It was just
like a halo.
So different. No, like a big, huge, thick beam of light. And it came into, but I mean the texture, the feeling of it. It was like pure life and love. And it came straight in the top of my head and fed all the way down my nervous system.
And did it light up in your mind? Like you sort of saw the nervous system light up, or did you feel it?
Like the veins in a tree leaf. Like I could see the whole, it's just like this texture and this light. It probably took, again, you have no concept of time up there, but roughly half an hour to just go through my whole system so slowly, like feeding it with every little thing that it could ever need, and as much of it, like pure abundance of it, like in this healing, beautiful, loving way. And it's like almost charging a battery, you know, when you feel so full of anything and everything. And it just totally repaired my whole nervous system.
Some would call that God.
Yeah.
That like that love and light of God, or I mean whatever God is to you, because that's obviously not strictly about religion, but that experience of God.
Definitely.
So you basically, by taking, again, it's psychotherapy assisted MDMA, it's not the nightclub version, you basically get to experience all of who you are whilst also experiencing the nothingness and the spaciousness of everything, whilst also being fed with love and light.
Yeah.
I mean, this sounds like a great day out.
Man, honestly, forget Alton Towers.
This is where it's at.
Where it's at, for sure.
And I know that for you that was so profound but to give context to this part of the story, Hayley has done a significant amount of work on herself for a really long time. And I would say that you push boundaries, you travel alone, you went to Australia for a very long time alone. You're somebody that you will seriously do the work. Yeah. You don't just dabble. You're not someone that turns up and says, here I am, what you got for me? You will do it. I'm
an all or nothing kind of person.
Yes, so, you are. Yeah. You are. And but your dedication and determination and commitment to yourself over the last, since lockdown really, that's where the journey of I'm really going to feed my soul starts, isn't it? And I'm not saying you weren't doing stuff before that, but that was the catalyst. Yeah. That was the catalyst for this new code. Yeah. And I feel like that moment with that MDMA psychotherapy assisted experience was the reassurance that you'd done what you were supposed to be doing, and that this book particularly is exactly what you should be doing. This is a culmination. You know, we talked about the stars and you said you're in the solar system, and funnily enough, the people that are doing my new website and setting up the training school and setting up the app, we're using the cosmos as the because you've been in my therapy room, and I really love the idea of the galaxy and the spaciousness and the nothingness and the everything all in the same space, and the human experience. We are an embodiment of all of that. But if you're not paying attention, I mean, I've not done that experience. And when you told me about it, I was like, right, what's his name? Where's he live? I need to get there now. Because clearly this is an altering experience, but in the best possible way. And the fact that you were so scared and so resistant and so, again, you mentioned something really important there, which was the intuition. We think of intuition as this kind of very positive experience. But I shared with you earlier about a place I'd looked at to extend my practice. So as many people know, I've got the clinic and I work from the clinic, and I just wanted to have another space which wasn't attached to here, that would be a new space, particularly as I'm launching so many new things this year. I just wanted something fresh. I'd keep my place here, but I'd have this extra space. And it's an amazing location. I cannot express that enough. But without going into the boring detail, there was a few red flags, intuition red flags, and it's just not right. And I so badly want it to be right. And I mentioned the numbers earlier, and the numbers appeared at the same sort of time that I was looking at this space. And it kills me to say that it's not the right place, because I drive in and I'm like, oh my God, this is where I want to be. Yeah. And everything in my body's going, please, 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 please let this be the one. But there are those tiny little signs that say, you cannot do this, Ella. It is not going to work.
It's not the one.
And if you don't pay attention to the signs, even though they're uncomfortable, you are ignoring the bigger part of what's going on. And something you said earlier about the book, because and this sort of fits into what I've just said there. And it fits in with the MDMA story. You were talking about the book kind of representing 3D, 4D and 5D in its own little way. Yeah. Explain that to me, because that really is sort of part of what you've just been explaining with the MDMA.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to when we were just touching on balance between, having a human experience and a spiritual experience. And so in basic terms, like 3D is your physical world, very human, things that you can touch and what just your surroundings, I guess.
Physicality.
Yeah, that's the word. Well done. Then like 4D is effectively your mind, your emotions, and then 5D is your spiritual side, your soul. And it's having the correct interaction between all three, respect for all three, balance between all three, that's going to allow you to live the life that you want to live, because it does affect all three.
It does. And the next question, hence the reason I wanted to ask that, because I think the mind, body, soul is said a lot, but I like the idea of 3D, 4D, 5D, especially as a lot of people talk about that these days. But the next question is, did you truly understand that before the MDMA? And I mean truly understand that.
Do you know what's the real thing that came to me? I differentiate very clearly, and it's a theme that goes throughout the book. It's the difference between knowledge and knowing.
Yeah.
And that is such a barrier of me and my experiences personally, because I've been very academic.
Yeah.
If in doubt, give me a book to read, I'll understand it. Therefore, I get it.
Yes.
And it's just really not like that. And I remember having, actually being up there. And I've written all of my book from intuition, from knowing, from my place of just that I tap into when I write, and I'm in a complete daze when I do it. But I just remember going, it's all true.
Wow. So it was confirmation.
It was absolute confirmation. I knew it was true, and now I really know it. It was that sort of, it's like what's there is.
I guess that God analogy again, that what people, and I say that because one of the things that comes to me is the idea of the frequencies. Yeah. And so I like the 3D, 4D, 5D, and I'm really into frequencies because you can feel it, can't you?
Absolutely.
I mean, like I said at the beginning, we'd never met in person, but the minute I saw you in person, it was like I'd known you all my life and other lifetimes. It's just normal, normal. But it's a frequency.
Yeah.
And people do say, because I do a lot of online work, as you know, and I do a lot of offline work, in-person work. And I've come to realise that for me, and I don't know if this is just me or if this is lots of people, some people go, I can't do online. I don't like online. I have to be in person. And I've always been a bit like, really? Because I've got some of the best relationships online. And I do love in person, don't get me wrong. I probably prefer it just because there's something really important about being in the space. But I do feel that frequency. And I've got people in Dubai, Australia. I've had a client in Kazakhstan. I mean, I've been everywhere. I sit in the same place and I go all over the world with these people. It's lovely. But I don't feel that the frequency is altered. And I feel that it goes back to being intentional. My intention is that we will connect.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't happen for whatever reason, which is rare, because I believe that people are put in front of me that are supposed to be put in front of me, and it's not about me, it's actually just about the plan, if you like.
Yeah.
I just believe it's meant to be. So, and I think I've always been that way. Where yours is stars, mine is butterflies.
Aww.
Yeah, I've always been the butterfly because I loved, even as a child, and I've said this on ADHD Chatter, I loved the caterpillar to butterfly. I mean, obviously I know the chrysalis, but even as a little girl collecting the caterpillars and waiting for, thinking it would be minutes that the caterpillar in a jar would just turn into the butterfly.
That teaches you patience, doesn't it?
Well, that's obviously what I needed to learn. And it's a very profound lesson for me, patience, because having that ADHD type brain, I'm like fast. So even then I was attracted. And that's what Louise Hay was saying, wasn't it? You're attracted to the things that you're meant to be attracted to. Absolutely. And for me, metamorphosis is it. And that natural evolvement of the experience.
Oh, that transformation.
That transformation is powerful. But then that's around us all the time if we just tap in. And I think that's why the butterflies are so integral in my experience, and the stars are so integral in yours. We are drawn to what we need to be drawn to. And I think that is ancestral.
Yeah.
I think hugely that me being so open with my voice, and even if my body holds on, is actually to do with my maternal grandmother. And she didn't use her voice, and she was suppressed. She also seemingly had elements of a personality that fit the ADHD, sort of framework. And I think that's my, and actually she was a really important person in my life, and probably the only really important adult that didn't let me down. But she exited my life when I was around 7, and actually I was always so drawn to sunsets, and that was my way of connecting to her, and sunsets and butterflies became a massive theme for me. But again, that's all transformation.
Yeah.
And me being so vocal about my own trauma, and not only being vocal about my own, but actually really wanting to hear other people's voices. That's what I do. It's talk therapy. Obviously, I use a lot of practical tools within that, but primarily it's about getting people to release using their voice in the initial phases. And then the podcast is about that as well. The new mind is about, well, the word new suggests that we're evolving. So, and then these moments where people share their stories is about using their voice.
Oh.
And I think that is such a powerful, you mentioned this earlier with the ME, like, you're shut down.
Yeah.
And when we're in dorsal vagal, which is where you said about the playing dead, that Fawn response of shut down, we're not able to connect up here.
No.
And we're not able to express here. And your book is your expression in writing.
Yeah.
But here you are using your voice to talk about that. And that is you mentioned that earlier off camera, but that for you was a big block, wasn't it? Your voice.
Absolutely. I wrote the book for me.
Yeah.
I really did. And I then put together the information in it in a way that I wished had been available to me.
That's always the story. It's the same for mine. It's always the story. Be the voice that you needed.
Absolutely. And I think then that you can really, you just are that. For everyone, just the way you speak naturally, the stories you tell, the way people relate to you, it's in the book, but it's a part of me. And that's what I really wanted it to be. I think people connect with it differently.
They do when it's genuine.
Yeah. But that was like, obviously, writing a book I could do in what was my version of safety.
Yes.
And that's what gave me the freedom to sort of just write what I wanted and put together everything, what I felt was right, and just that sort of map from where you are to where you want to be, that can be redone over and over and over again. And it's writing the book was like my only task. That's what I set myself. And then once I'd done it, I was like, oh God, I've got to speak now.
Well, she's hilarious that you felt that way, because you articulate so well. You're so engaging to listen to. Like, I knew that already, because obviously I invited you on. I knew I wanted to share this with everybody because I've got such a profound love for you, and I think what you're doing is so special. Well, we know that. I know when we say it to each other, we have a little bit of a flutter, but it's true. But I wanted to share you with people because you do speak so well, and I know that was one of the things that you were scared of.
Yeah.
And yet you've sat here and made me laugh and made me feel, and I know other people listening are going to have that same response. So the things that you're scared of are the things that we're often best at.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
Thank you for that. But and I feel like you're always led to your next, the next door to open.
Yeah, you are.
And that was mine. And I couldn't comprehend it at that time.
No.
It's the thing with these lovely life journeys that we have, we can't ever comprehend 10 steps ahead. We just have to take the one that's in front of us. Yeah.
We need to be intentional without trying to force it.
Yeah.
Because again, there's a bigger plan really.
Absolutely.
And in addition to this, just to give a little bit of insight into Hayley's world now, you are also going into, because background, you were in property
and law.
I mean, completely different to the things we've spoken about today. I mean, that is one heck of a leap.
Well, I've literally gone from one extreme to the other.
You really have.
Yeah. And Yeah. So I've gone from being incredibly driven by the outside world. I was validated by achievement, status,
Money.
grades, whatever it was. That was my validation for sure. And then I just realized it was all a load of bollocks. I did. Like, you get to a certain point where you go, actually, none of that's made me happy. And I'd done the thing that I should do. I got married by a certain age that I sort of should have done, and had the house, this, and it just, when it all came crumbling down, it really made me assess whether I was happy or not.
And you weren't.
And I really wasn't. I've been telling myself I was, because I thought I should be.
Wow.
And it's a real internal thing, and a very hard question to answer honestly.
It really is. And I think, even I struggle with it sometimes and think, which version of me is true?
Yeah.
Because on that note there, and it's a bit dark, but I think it goes into it. I speak openly about things that other people don't want to, especially when they're a therapist, because we have a governing body and we've got to be careful what we say. But I'm only ever saying things that I think are beneficial. So one was the constipation.
Yeah.
That's something that, especially a lot of girls, they don't want to talk about that because no one wants to talk about it, but it's a thing. And the other is the suicidal ideations that creep in. And I speak about it a lot with clients, actually, because I feel like they need to know that their suicidal thoughts may just be a moment of escapism. And I have the problem is with suicidal ideations is if you don't fear death and you have suicidal ideations, it is a very addictive place to be.
Yeah.
And I mean that. I don't fear death at all. It's not something that bothers me. And I think it is because I'm so aware of this is just one plane that we're on. And when someone passes or my best friend died not long ago, I kind of just still feel her so strongly.
Oh.
So strong. And I know, again, some people go, well, it's the end of life and that's it. In my experience, she's just always there. Yeah. Always, 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 always. And she was never always with me anyway, because she was someone who just went off and travelled and landed where she wanted to, but she was such a presence.
She was always with you.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Yeah. We were definite soulmates. And that's Susie, by the way. I have to say her name when I say that. I have to say her name. But she's probably one of the most inspirational people because she didn't live by the rules. Yeah. And I don't really live by the rules, but she really didn't. And anyway, going back to the death thing, I haven't had a grief response that I would imagine that I would with someone that I love so much and who's so integral and so important and such a massive part of my life, because I think I'm so accepting of death. And it was really Ramdas, I mentioned him briefly earlier, and I love his stuff. He's, oh my God, one of the most beautiful souls that's ever walked this earth. I love Ramdas.
He actually probably is.
I genuinely, have you seen the Netflix half an hour thing, Going Home?
It's beautiful.
Well, I played Walking Each Other Home to Susie every day when I was seeing her in the hospice, because his voice and that ethos around death is so beautiful. And he spent a lot of his life with death and curious about death and holding people in the space when they were dying. And I don't know, I've just always had this fearlessness around death that I just don't think it's an issue. And then I had surgery and I had the general anaesthetic, and I woke up and the first thing I thought was, well, if that's what death's like, I'm okay with that. Like, I didn't know I wasn't here, so it didn't matter that I wasn't here, and it won't matter. It will matter to other people perhaps, but it won't matter to me. Like, I'm not scared, and I don't need a funeral or anything like that, because I don't really want people to have to say goodbye, because I'm not going anywhere physically, yes, but unfortunately for you lot, the energy of the Ella will be around for a bit.
We love the energy of the Ella.
Well, not everyone would agree, but on the whole. But that with suicidal ideations is dangerous.
Yeah.
Because when they come in, I'm just like, well, I'm not scared of death, and I don't really want to be here anymore. It's a bit shit today. But I can literally go from the most joyous day. Oh, I just love everything and everyone. It's like I've taken MDMA. I see everything as clear. God is in me and I am God, and God is there and he's there and there, and you know, or she, they, whatever. And then I can stop, right? And stillness sets in. Not a what's the word I'm looking for? A familiar state from my nervous system. And within 10 minutes, I'm like, right, what's the point of living? I don't know why I'm here. It's a load of shit. Nobody will care. And I don't mean that in a kind of poor me way. It's like literally, I know that life goes on. I'm not that important. And it's almost like a release. So this is where I was going with it. It's almost like a releasing of the ego. Because I go through this narrative. Nobody will care. Not in a bad way, but I'm not that important. And also, I'm not scared of death. And I've had an amazing life. Even though some of it's been tough, I really appreciate all those bits. And this universe is so amazing that me not being here really isn't a problem. But then it spirals quite quickly into how am I going to do it? What would I do? Where would I leave the message? Now, I think this is an ADHD thing because we go through every single thought process. And then I go, at the end of this descent into my own suicide, I then go, hang on a minute. Are you even actually happy? Because why would you be having these thoughts if you were happy? Because happy people surely don't think about taking their own lives. This is not something that normally goes hand in hand. We're told that the thought of suicide is when you're depressed and when you're in deep trauma and when you're, you know, all of these things. But I think, having listened to your story today, and I'm putting this out there for people that might struggle with suicidal ideations, I think those suicidal ideations are a mini 10-minute version of ME. It's just shut down, collapse, and it's the moment to go, right, brain, what are you trying to tell me?
They well could be.
I think that's what they are. I think I just have mini moments of dorsal vagal collapse, play dead, and just, but then the day, maybe 3 or 4 days after, I'm like back in the joy. So, I mean, it's not something I would say that I revel in, but I do think it's important to go there. I mean, you said with the MDMA, you faced your death.
Yeah.
And as I heard you, I was like, oh, I do that a lot and I'm kind of cool with it. And I don't know, I looked into various different human design aspects of me at some point. And one of the things that came up is I've got a strong comfortability with death. And it suddenly occurred to me that most people, when I've worked with phobias or fears, actually, whatever the phobia is or whatever the fear is actually a fear of death.
Yeah.
And because I'm so comfortable with death, I think I'm an ideal person for those people because you can't make me flinch. There's nothing you could say about death that makes me scared. So they won't feel uncomfortable in that conversation with me.
They'll feel held.
Yeah.
And understood.
Correct. So actually, when I go there now, and I'm going to bring that back to your unhappiness. When I go there now, I realise that that's the gift. It goes back to the dark side of intuition, dark side of trauma. The sexual abuse in my life is a gift. The suicidal ideations become the gift. The ability to understand that in other people becomes the gift. So all of those dark things, all of that, I realised that I wasn't happy. You know, the divorce, the money, the house, the everything else. That was probably the biggest gift you've ever received.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, when we come here for our human lives in our lovely human bodies, you know, our experience is to learn to navigate like the polarities of life.
Yeah.
And there are so many of them,
Yeah.
you know, light and dark, love and hate, you know, being two. But, you know, once you can alchemize and transform, you know, like the butterfly, those experiences that, I mean, my goodness, are so incredibly painful when you're going through them.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate. You know,
it really is.
It really is. And I think there's such beauty in pain.
So much.
And
so much.
Yeah. And when you learn to feel it as well and not fear it.
Yes, that's exactly it.
I used to avoid it for many, many years and almost deny that I had pain.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But once you learn to really, I want to say, befriend it.
For sure.
You know, it's not just feel it, it's allowing it, but not keeping it. you know.
Yeah.
You get to choose the state that you reside in most of the time.
Yeah.
But you don't get to avoid the human experience of all of these different emotions.
And that's where feeling sorry for yourself comes in, and not being ashamed of that. I always say that, give yourself time to feel sorry for yourself, because sometimes what's happened is really hard. And if it was your best friend or your daughter or your son or your mum or your dad, you'd feel sorry for them.
Yeah.
So why are you not allowed to feel sorry for yourself?
Yeah.
And just do that for a period of time. Let that process happen, because that's part of the alchemizing. It's part of the transformation, and it's part of... But I think the reason that I get those mini moments of darkness is to keep me tethered to the darkness in other people, because that's obviously what I'm managing a lot of the time. But I see them, and there's one person in particular, and she often says, "You won't ever leave me, will you?" Now in therapy, that would be seen as like enmeshment or whatever else. But I don't function in the way of the rules. I said that about Susie. I'm not really about that. I'm about the experience. And I say, look, I promise I'm not going anywhere. I mean, unless I die, in which case there's not much I can do about it. And I apologise in advance. But, you know, the truth is, I'm not here to just tick a box.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the same with you. You're not here to tick the box. You're here to speak from your truth and share that in a way that other people can find themselves. And I think when you're in that zone, it doesn't matter whether you're a baker, a hairdresser, whether you work in a nail salon, whether you're a farmer, a therapist. If that's the way you show up, there is so much beauty and power and alchemizing within that space.
Absolutely.
And for the people that are listening, the reason I wanted to go through those little moments of suicide and all that sort of stuff is because there'll be people that experience similar things, real darkness, not necessarily suicidal ideations, but real bouts of depression or severe social anxiety. They'll feel like there's no point. They might have recovered from some form of abuse or grief or a pain that they've never expressed. But I'm hoping that some of what you've said today, certainly your book, but I'm hoping that some of what you've said and some insights that we've both shared allow them to see that it is just part of a very, very beautiful, empowering, transformative experience, and that they don't have to worry about feeling those things.
No. Because
like you said, you can avoid them, and then actually avoidance only leads to the recurrence. It just shows up in different ways, doesn't it? You've got to learn the lesson.
Yeah, and I think that's the danger in a lot of this, the spirituality side of stuff. And I'm gonna go there because I think it really does need to be said. And it was a rabbit hole I went down. Yeah, where you almost think that it's all love and light all the time. Yeah, and that is just an avoidance tactic.
It is. And it's also a control tactic by the wrong people in that space.
Absolutely.
They will convince you that they've got the answer.
Yeah. You know, no one has ever got the answers for you. They can guide you to your own answers.
That's right.
That's it, you know.
That's right.
You know, don't get me wrong, that's incredibly powerful. I'm all for having mentors, guides.
Me too.
I think it's being inspired is the most beautiful motivator.
Yeah, it really is.
So yeah, I am all for that. But you know, pretending everything is love and light when it's not is not the same as feeling what you need to feel. Yeah. And then come out of it. Yeah. You know, they're very different things.
They are.
It's yeah, I mean, I went through a phase of doing that as well. Yeah. And then wondered why I wasn't happy, and would then, you know, it would get more and more. And it's not until you really look at the truth of it.
And the truth is messy, but I think it's like, you know, I've had a lot of men say this to me, not personally to me. It makes it sound like I'm some sort of working lady. I am a working lady, not that kind. They often say they love their wives or their girlfriends the most when they've just woken up and they've put a baggy t-shirt on, they've got no makeup on, and their hair's a mess, and their breath probably is as well. But that's when they love them the most, you know, where they just go, that's my girl.
It's just true.
It's the truth. It's the truth. I mean, obviously I never reveal quite that much truth with my lashes and my extensions and my makeup. That's too dark for anyone. But I do feel that actually, you know, when I see my daughter, she puts her own lashes on. She's very good at it, actually. But when she takes them off and she's just having a little rest for a few hours before she puts the next set on, I just look at her and go, oh, my God, she's so beautiful.
Oh.
She is so beautiful, and she's got these piercing blue eyes, and you know, she's obviously very pretty with her lashes on, and she's a doll and all that sort of stuff. But when she's taken them off, I just look at her and I'm like,
oh, the way you speak about her.
I just love her.
Oh,
I just love her.
lovely.
I mean, I think I irritate her more than she could ever articulate because I'm such a nosy
you're
cow.
meant to.
I am.
You're meant to.
But I can't help it. I mean, I've said this before, but if she comes, we had a lovely friend, Georgia, around yesterday, but we were chatting away, and I ask all the questions. If she has a boyfriend or a friend, I want to know about the parents, the grandparents, where they live, where they used to live, where did they start from, what's their star sign, what job do you think they'll end up doing, how many GCSEs did they get? And she's like, I don't know. And you're so nosy. I can't help it.
I love it.
I can't help collecting the data. I love to paint the picture. And today, Hayley, you have painted an exquisite picture of your own life. But also, I think you've given people the opportunity to think about themselves, which is actually where it's really at. You know, that's what it's about. They will have seen themselves in many different ways today. I certainly have. And the book, because it's in the editing process now. I mean, we're a bit early. We've gone
yes, we are
super
a bit early.
But it is going to be out there.
1st of November will be the release date.
Wow.
Yes.
I mean, I didn't know that we had a release date. So
it's going to be done by then.
It's the 1st of November.
Absolutely.
Where will they be able to find you? I know you've got your Instagram.
Yep. So it's the Guiding Star System.
Yes.
And the guidingstarsystem.com website.
Yeah.
And all the socials. I managed to get them all matching.
I know. It's very,
great.
Very good. It's the perfectionist in you.
It is, isn't it?
You see, that it's handy when it comes to marketing.
Absolutely.
I love that. I'm not organised at all, so maybe that's something I could follow. I haven't got very good branding yet. I've paid people to do that.
I think you've got good branding.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think I've got a brand that I will have I've only been in the game for 20 years before I decided I should pull my finger out and get some done. But you know, it's going to be fascinating. But I can't wait to do it. Read it. Are you going to have an app with it as well, did you say, or just the website?
The app hasn't been created yet.
But it's an idea.
What I'm definitely going to do is, the reason I created a book is because you can just sit in your own safety.
Yeah.
And you can work through these things. You know, it's going to ask you a lot of reflective questions. It gives you a lot of information. You know, that when you feel like that is your truth, it can become part of it. It can guide you to sort of bringing that out more. So it's something that I love being able to offer to lots and lots of people. So they don't have to see me like one-on-one or work with me and coach or anything. They can just have the book and go and do their own thing. But I'm going to create something more. So that's either going to be an online course or that's going to be an app, and it will be one of the two. So
there's a plan with the system.
Yeah.
It starts with the book. And like I said, because actually just to complete the loop before we close the episode, you were in property and law and now you're studying.
Yeah.
And how far into that are you doing?
So I'm just going into my 3rd year of psychotherapy. But I do sort of like the coaching side. I'm a qualified hypnotherapist.
That's right, yes.
And so literally gone from one extreme to the other.
Yeah, you have.
So it's obviously like all coming out now. There's been quite a lot of background work, but I'm not one of those people that has got the sort of desire or pull to work with hundreds of people at once or, you know, stand up on stage and do things like that. I love working with either small groups or one-on-one. So I'll only ever have like 5 to 10 clients that I'll work with. And so this is why I wanted, you know, the book and either the app or the thing, so that lots of people can sort of reach me without having direct contact necessarily.
Well, because you know you've got to protect your own energy.
Absolutely.
Your own system.
Yeah.
So can they, through the website, reach you if they want to start working with you already?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you do want to work one-to-one with Hayley, she has been very clear that she's quite bounded with her time and her precious energy, but you would be able to contact and get in touch. For me, that's quite useful because, as you know, I like to trickle a few.
Oh,
Well, I will, because
Yeah,
the
thank
hypnotherapy
you.
and the way you think is not too dissimilar to the way that I work.
Yeah.
So it'd be good for people to know that they can reach you if they want to.
yeah.
And I would highly recommend Hayley, because
thank you.
just from an energetic point of view, like, she gets it, don't you?
Oh, I know that I'm only ever going to attract,
The right people.
Yeah, a certain type of client, that's in alignment with, the things that I practice and preach.
Yeah, that's very
So,
true.
Yeah.
So the 1st of November for the book. Obviously, follow Hayley for more information to see if there's any extra. And actually, the great thing about following you is that they'll be able to, at some point, sign up for a pre-waiting list or something.
Yes,
I'm sure
that's already out.
That's already out. So that's good. So they can sign up for that, get themselves on that list.
Yeah. And you'll see lots of stars on there.
Which is just an added bonus if you like a star or two.
Yeah, just follow me for a star.
Why not? You are the star, Hayley.
Oh, thank you.
You are the star. No, thank you for being here.
Thank
you
for
for making
having
me
me.
throw up.
Oh, highlight of my day, babe.
It was of mine as well, because I just released so much negative energy. No, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, it's been lovely. Thank you so much. You've been such a support through my whole journey. And I can safely say I wouldn't be sat here if it wasn't for you.
Oh, Hayley. Mwah. Mwah.
Can I have a hug now?
Yeah, let's do it. Oh, Hayley. Sorry if I smell sick.